Under the red western sun, the air was thick with dust and cruelty. The town of Dry Creek never did know the meaning of mercy. It laughed too easily, especially at pain that wasn't its own. That evening, men staggered out of the saloon, their laughter clinking like empty bottles. They spoke of a cowboy named Eliezer, 33, rough as gravel, with eyes like the desert sky before rain. They said he had no heart, that he'd never bowed to woman or God. So they decided to test him, to humble the man who never flinched. And for their joke, they found her. Her name was Eliza, 23, frail, and still as dusk after thunder. The wagon accident that took her strength left her paralyzed from the waist down, abandoned by kin and forgotten by townfolk. They lifted her, trembling, and set her in a broken wooden chair, tied to the back of a wagon. They pinned a note to her dress, the pride of no one. Then they rode her through the night, laughing, until they reached the ranch of the man they wanted to shame. When dawn broke, Eliezer came out with a hangover and a scowl. The wind carried the faintest whimper. There she was, small, still, eyes open and glistening like dew on stone. The paper on her chest fluttered once in the breeze before falling to his boots. He picked it up, read it, and stared at her for a long while. The sky behind him turned from gray to gold, the light touching the scars along his cheek. He said nothing. She tried to speak, lips dry and cracked. "I'm sorry," she whispered, though for what, she didn't know. He turned away, muttering, "Ain't my business," and went inside. But guilt has a sound, like a door that won't shut, like the faint breathing of someone who won't stop trying to live. Hours later, he stepped out again. She was still there, her face half-shaded, eyes closed but not asleep. Flies gathered near her legs, and that was what broke him. He cursed under his breath, carried her inside, and laid her near the fire. She was lighter than the saddle he rode every day. He poured her water, forced her to drink. Her voice trembled, soft as a prayer. "You can send me away if you want." "I might," he said coldly. "I won't blame you," she replied. "But at least wait till morning." He didn't answer, but he brought her a blanket that night, then cursed himself for doing so. The days that followed felt strange. She said little, though her silence filled the cabin in ways that words never could. He caught himself glancing at her when she wasn't looking, at her calmness, at the way her eyes followed the light moving across the floorboards. He didn't understand it. He wasn't kind. He didn't know how to be. He built fences, not bridges. Yet one afternoon, when the rain came, she smiled at the sound, and something inside him cracked open. She began mending his old shirts with trembling fingers, though her hands weren't steady. He asked why she bothered. "Because I can still fix something," she said. He grunted, but he didn't stop her. At first, he fed her out of obligation. Then it became routine. Then it became care. He built a ramp from the porch to the yard so she could feel the wind. He told himself it was practicality, less trouble carrying her. But deep down he knew it was more. He wanted her to see the world outside again. Sometimes she spoke about her past in fragments, her father's ranch, her fall from the wagon, the long months of silence afterward. He never told her much about himself, though one evening he muttered, "I used to have a brother." "What happened?" she asked. "Died. 'Cause I was too proud to listen." After that, she didn't ask again. She just looked at him with eyes that didn't judge. The town soon heard of the strange pair at Eliezer's ranch. Some laughed again. Some pitied her. But none dared mock him to his face. The man who once rode into town drunk now came quietly, bought supplies, and left without a word. Old Martha at the general store noticed the change. "She's softening you, cowboy," she said with a knowing smile. "She ain't," he replied. But his eyes didn't match his tone. That winter, the land turned white. She embroidered by the fire, patterns of wildflowers and rivers, threads of color born from hands that once only shook. He began reading to her at night from old Western tales. His voice was rough, untrained, but steady. She closed her eyes, listening like the words were medicine. One night, as the snow fell, she asked him, "Do you believe people can change?" He thought for a while. "Only if they've got someone worth changing for." Her gaze softened, and she said no more. When spring came, she asked for something unexpected. I want to see the town. He frowned. You sure? They'll stare. Let them, she said. I want to be seen. He didn't answer right away, but the next morning he loaded the wagon, lined it with blankets, and lifted her gently inside. The town was bustling for the fair, banners, horses, the smell of dust and roasted corn. When people saw them, silence spread like wildfire. The same men who once mocked her now looked away. She displayed her embroidery on a small table. Children came first, touching the threads. Then women approached, murmuring praise. The sheriff's wife said softly, "It's beautiful work." Eliezer stood behind her, arms crossed, scanning the crowd. Pride flickered in his chest like a long-lost flame. Someone whispered, "She's the pride of the West." And in that moment, Eliza smiled, not for them, not for pity, but for herself. When they returned home that night, the sky was painted with amber clouds. She watched the horizon fade to dusk while he carried her back inside. The air smelled of hay and warmth. He set her down near the fire and lingered, his hands still trembling. "You proved them wrong today," he said quietly. She shook her head. "No, you did." Silence followed, thick and tender. Then he spoke again, slower this time, each word heavy as confession. "They gave you to me as a joke. Thought I'd throw you out like trash. But you," he stopped, swallowed hard, "you turned this place into something alive again." She blinked, unsure if she heard right. The candlelight painted his face in shades of gold and shadow. "I didn't mean to stay," he continued. "Didn't mean to care. I was half dead long before you came. But every time you smiled, I started feeling human again." Her breath trembled. "Eliezer." He stepped closer, knelt beside her chair, and took her hand in both of his. His voice broke. "I love you," he said simply. "Not because I'm sorry. Not because I feel guilty. But because you're the only one who ever looked at me like I wasn't beyond saving." Her eyes filled instantly, tears catching the light. She tried to speak, but only a small sound came out. He leaned forward, pressing her hand against his cheek, as if grounding himself in her warmth. "I can't give you back what life took," he whispered, "but I can make sure you never feel small again." A sob slipped from her throat, soft and full. "You already have," she managed. "You made me proud to be seen." He closed his eyes, exhaling like a man freed from years of chains. The world outside was silent except for the wind through the wheat, whispering through the cracks like the earth itself was blessing them. The fire burned low. The shadows danced on the walls. Neither spoke again for a while. They didn't need to. The air between them was thick with everything unspoken. Pain, forgiveness, and a kind of love too fragile for words. Later, when she drifted to sleep, he stepped outside. The moonlight washed the land silver. The same porch where she'd once been left as a cruel gift now stood as witness to something sacred. He looked at the horizon, and for the first time in years he smiled, not the smirk of arrogance, but the quiet smile of a man at peace. Inside she stirred, her lips forming his name even in dreams. By dawn, the ranch was bathed in gold again. He found her awake, eyes bright as morning. She looked at him for a long while, then whispered, "Thank you for staying." He touched his hat, half grinning. Wasn't planning on going anywhere. The rooster crowed. The light spilled in. The west, cruel and vast, softened for a moment around them. Somewhere beyond the hills, the same town that once mocked them was waking up, whispering new stories. About a cowboy who found grace and a woman who became the pride of the West. And if you listen close enough, even now, you can still hear it. The sound of a heart learning to love again. So tell me, friend, as the sun climbs over your sky, where are you watching from tonight? Does your corner of the world still believe in kindness? If it does, then carry this tale with you. Like, comment, and share it. Let the world remember. Sometimes, the cruelest jokes become the gentlest miracles.